Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and in the comments, guess how many of our guests could beat up Aaron. And welcome into episode number 6 of Numbers and Nonsense. I'm Joe Nolan, and I'm joined as always with my partner in crime through the real estate syndication world. It's Aaron Holtzman. Aaron,
Hey, Joe, good to be here. How you doing?
Hey, it looks like it's your turn to be on vacation this week, huh?
Yeah, I'm down here in sunny / thunderous Florida right now. Currently having an epic downpour, but sun will come out tomorrow. That's what they say.
There you go. Well, we got big news to start off our 6th episode. This episode of Numbers and Nonsense is brought to you by Legacy Business Plans.
Whoop, whoop.
Aaron, can you believe it? We already have our first sponsor, and it's one I'm really excited about. Jenny from Legacy Business Plans is someone I've known. I've worked with her in the SBA space. She's a former banker herself. And for anyone who's looking to buy a business or expand to a second location, you have to have a business plan. And there's a lot of providers out there, but I've seen Jenny's and they really are what lenders are looking for. So when she reached out looking to sponsor us, I was super excited. And, here we are. Our first, we're almost an official podcast now, Aaron.
I mean, it doesn't get more official than actually getting revenue in the door as a podcast. So we could check that box, Joe, as far as I'm concerned.
Check. If you look at this graph and you expedite it out, I think we're on pace for $1 trillion of revenue by this time next year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just makes total sense, statistically speaking.
Hey, but I know you were also talking about doing an acquisition or just having some conversations. We were talking in the lead-in here. It sounds like you had a pretty interesting week.
Yeah, so I was actually talking with a potential client who was trying to put together a professional team, which I advocate for wholeheartedly, especially if you're looking to buy a business and you have never done it before. But their kind of situation was a little interesting in the sense of they were asking the professionals to work on contingency for a portion of equity upon the execution of the deal, both for the attorneys and the accountants they were looking to recruit in their acquisition finding meeting. After talking with them, I had 2 meetings with them, great people, but I told them, listen, I'm going to either need to recuse myself or require that you actually pay fees to myself and my firm, regardless of success of the acquisition, because it's a misalignment of interests. When you're hiring a CPA firm or an accountant or a professional or an attorney to help you with the buy-side due diligence, you're engaging them to help you make sure that the business you're buying is the business represented to you. And if my vested interest is in the acquisition happening, not the professional services being done, even if I hold myself to a high level of ethics, there's always that piece that could always be that conflict of interest. And for that reason, I recused myself or, again, told them, listen, it's either going to have to be paid for a fee or what have you. And that's not to say down the road after an acquisition, myself and my firm would be open to doing an equity play with clients. It's more so taking a piece of equity for a deal that could be bad for a potential client, but because we're getting paid based on the completion of the acquisition, it incentivizes us to let things slide.
And again, it's such an interesting idea, right? Like on paper, it makes so much sense. Hey, we get these smart professionals. We have our people who are bought into the success of the outcome, but you dive into it for just a couple seconds. And now, that due diligence that you're providing is no longer third party. You're now a vested interest in the outcome. And like you were saying, now it no longer matters that the work was done in a timely and efficient manner and you were paid for it. Now, the only thing that matters is that the deal closes so that you are able to recoup anything. So, it just, it's a really interesting idea. There's a lot of people out there trying to figure out the cool new way of rolling up or pulling together a team. And it just seems like, it's hard to invent a better mousetrap.
Yeah. And again, that's not to say don't potentially entice the professionals you're working with for a portion of equity, but just make sure it's never going to be a true conflict of interest, such as an acquisition. Because again, I like to hold myself to a very high level of ethics. All attorneys and accountants need to, but in the same breath, as much as we hold ourselves to that level, if there's a blatant conflict of interest like that, it's not worth it. You don't want your professional having to deal with that potential conflict. It's unethical.
Well said.
Engaged with that conflict, in my opinion.
Well said. And I think you're smart to step away from even the view of impropriety. It's better just to be safe than sorry.
That was a big word, Joe. I'm going to just say that.
I'm not sure it was a real one, but we're going to run with it. All right. Well, Aaron, I know we've got a couple guests today that are going to be joining us. Maybe you could give us a little bit of an introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I would like to welcome to the stage Anna and Katrina, PMI Austin experts. They're property managers here in the Austin MSA. I've known Katrina for a number of years, Anna for almost as long. They actually personally take care of one of the rentals I have here in Austin. They're great professionals, and they're also clients of mine at my CPA firm. So it kind of goes both ways. And honestly, I'm really happy that we were able to have the two of you on, because you're not only business owners and partners in your business, but partners in your life. So, you could definitely talk about the joy of finishing the workday and then coming home to the same people you're working with. But in the same breath, that piece aside, also your background, your origin story, if you will, is also very enticing. If you guys want to tell us a little bit about where you guys started, how long you started your business, what the impetus was for that, and kind of how, again, what made you go, hey, let's do this, and where are you coming from?
All right. Well, thank you guys for having us. We really are going to enjoy this time with you all, knowing you, Aaron, and a new friend, and Joe. We're happy to be here. So we've been in business since 2021. And how we got started was really interesting. Katrina, and she'll share her story, but she had retired in 2020 and was moving into the real estate industry after her retirement for her long career, and got into got her real estate license and started working with a good friend of ours, and to learn that particular sales side of real estate. And also in 2020, I ended up getting displaced. I'm a former commercial banker, worked for a major bank for over 20 years, and it was displaced during that year. So with this great severance package that we had, it also provided some executive coaching. And along with that came webinars and just training sessions to kind of help prepare you for going out and trying to find a new career in the same industry. And one day I had gone through all of those webinars. As you recall, this was the year of COVID, so everybody was at home. Everything was online. And after going through many videos just to stay fresh and up to date and relevant in my industry, I noticed that one of the webinars was about franchises, and a lot about how to take the skill set that you have and what are those transferable skills that can be applied to any industry. So it intrigued me. So I went online and took that webinar, and after an hour at the end of it, it was provided a link that would allow you to go in and answer a few questions, and these professionals would come back to you and say, hey, these skill set you have would work really well in these industries and in these different franchises. And these folks brought to me, I went ahead and went through the whole thing, and they brought to me 5 choices of different franchises around the nation that I could invest in. And one of those happened to be Property Management Inc., and PMI for short. And it was interesting to us because Katrina and I had, over the years, for many years, had already been real estate investors. We had multiple rentals. We had a short-term rental. And Katrina, with her career, was, had a full-time demanding career and managed our properties at the same time. She did it all. So it made sense for us to think through, well, we're already doing it for ourselves. Why not do it for other folks? We already know what to do and how to do it and how to be good at it. So she found that, and I'll let her step in, but Kat, talk to how you preferred the service side versus the sales side that you were originally introduced to in real estate.
Thanks, Anna. So for the prior 30 years, I was in law enforcement. I retired as a lieutenant from the Austin Police Department after 30 years. And like Anna said, I got my real estate license, and it didn't take me very long to realize that sales really was not suited for me. Or I really wasn't suited for sales, I guess. So when Anna got displaced and she starts looking at these and she comes across Property Management Inc., I really like that idea because I am driven more on service than I am anywhere on the sales side. So after a little bit of time in real estate doing the buys and sells, when we had the opportunity to do this, I was like, hands down, I want to do this. I've been doing this. I thought I knew exactly what I needed to do. Well, you know, managing properties on a large scale was, I knew how to do hours, but boy, it was some training. And so we learned together how to manage large portfolios and learn so much. I love real estate. I love houses. I love, touring and all the things that go along with it, but I really am driven by service.
Yep.
And, Anna with her career, same thing. She was, in commercial lending for 30 years. She really loves that service side as well. So this opportunity came up and we jumped. And
yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of kudos because I did not, I ended up finding another career in banking. So Kat ran this company for the first 3 years all by herself and grew it. And I only helped on nights and weekends. So it wasn't until 2024 that when we were approached with our first acquisition, that we made the decision for me to go ahead and retire from the banking career and focus on the business with Kat. So we hadn't been working together for too long, but it's been great.
I definitely want to circle back to the acquisition part, but you guys are actually the first interviewees, I would say, that is an actual franchisee. Can you guys talk to us a little bit about what that journey looked like for you? Kat, I know you kind of mentioned that there was a lot of learning done. Would you say that being a franchisee or in the training that came with that helped you kind of get over the initial hump of, hey, this is how you grow your business and all that kind of fun stuff, all the training that goes with it?
It did. Our franchisor gives a lot of training. One of the good things about being with PMI is they vet our management systems. They help with advertising, and if you were to do it you would be able to do it outside of a franchise, but by us doing it in the franchise, we were given so many tools that if we were just opening our doors without their assistance, we would have had a larger learning curve, although we still had a big learning curve. If we would have had to go out and find our computer systems and the advertising and all of that, it would have been a much more of an uphill climb. And I know that you probably have a little bit to say about this because same thing. I mean, it was a learning curve.
Yeah, it was. But I think as Kat mentioned too, the good news about franchises in general is that they're able to get premium pricing on some of these software vendors, website design, things like that, because of the mass
volume.
the purchasing
volume
power
that they can
right?
bring.
Yeah.
They can bring
Yeah.
to that particular vendor, because we're probably 500 franchises strong across the United States. So, and Puerto Rico, and I think Hawaii, Mexico, all in those areas. So
it's so
good.
interesting because the franchise model. A phrase I like to say is entrepreneurship feels like you're building the plane while you're flying it. At the very least, with the franchise model, you have some schematics and some skeleton around it to help sort of simplify what is, no matter what, going to be a sharp curve, but having to just both be an expert at identifying and building a tech stack in addition to everything else that goes along with being a successful entrepreneur. And running a business with some specialization is extremely hard. And I know, Aaron and I are partners in real estate. We have our portfolio through Finest Address, and we utilize, property management up here in the Philadelphia area because there's, as soon as we stuck our necks out and you start owning other real estate, you start to realize how many different competing interests there are out there, from the city government to the fire department to the police to the EMS to the state laws to the, just there's a billion different interceding regulations when it comes to people's housing, at least from my understanding. So finding a way to not just manage the properties on your own while you're working, that is an achievement on its own, one I personally refuse to learn myself. But then to also be able to transition that and turn it into a full franchise and finding that model is just a really unique blend of extending that entrepreneurship. On the real estate side, what have you found is, the biggest transition going from managing your own portfolio where you had, your process in place to being a franchisee and doing it at a commercial scale?
And for other people.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, the thing that took a little bit to get used to is when somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I have a problem." My first thing is, let's get it fixed. Well, learning that you have some owners out there that are reluctant to fix anything. And provide them with as much information as possible, get them bids, and walk them through, this is why we have to fix this. That was interesting to me because, we have always been proactive, and Aaron is as well with his property. Let's get it fixed. Let's make sure it's perfect and provide a really good property. And, finding different personalities out there and people that don't have that same desire to keep those properties to a certain level, that for me was really difficult because I was like, what do you mean? You don't want to do this?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
deferred maintenance is instant reward.
That's a good way to put it. I think for me, I manage the homeowners association management side of our business. And for me, I think the biggest aha moment, well, if I'd have thought about it, it wouldn't have been so aha, but it was. But you come from an industry where in the business I was in, you're working with people who understand financials, who understand a P&L and a balance sheet, forecasting, cash flow, things like that. And in homeowners, with some homeowners association, you might find some financially savvy board members that you're working with. But I quickly had to be more of a partner in explaining what is it, but what it's telling you, the story behind the reports that we give. So, I quite honestly enjoy that part of this business that I didn't get to have for many years on the commercial banking side. So it's nice to be able to still be in the numbers game. We have really tiny budgets that we manage to hundreds of thousands of dollar budgets that we manage. So you get that whole range of opportunity to partner with boards in helping them with their financial stability. It's good.
Yeah, and Anna, it's cool that you say that because I've had a very similar experience in my journey as well. Again, CPA firm, but mid-sized CPA firm, large regional banks, being able to again go from working with sophisticated individuals that maybe you're not providing as much of a value add or educational sense, and being able to bring that to people and see the impact you're making and the aha moment and the mentorship and the education that goes with teaching and training clients. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
To circle back to with the franchising and all that kind of fun stuff in that journey, what did you guys do on the front end when you decided to become a franchisee? How did you know, hey, this is a franchise that I want to work with? Obviously, you like the industry, but how did you truly vet the franchisor? And then how did you guys take that step in that journey? I know some franchisees or franchisors will fly franchisees out for training. Can you walk us through a little bit? Hey, what did you look at, such as an FDD, and how did the training kind of happen for you guys?
Okay, well, remember me telling you it was during COVID, so
no flying during that time.
We jumped on Amazon, and I got a really thick pad of flip chart paper. And when those 5 different franchise opportunities came to me, and I'll tell you what they were. It was Property Management Inc. It was an executive leadership curriculum where I would go and actually coach other leaders, C-suite individuals. A custom drapery franchise, a money services business, and having been in banking, there's no way under this I would ever do that, right? So, and I can't remember there was a 5th one, but those are the 4 main ones. Yeah. Insurance, yes, insurance. I looked at Farmers, I looked at Allstate, and one day Kat came home from her sales job that she didn't particularly care for, and I had flip chart paper all over the kitchen and dining room.
Everywhere.
And one was Farmers, one was Allstate, one was Property Management Inc. The executive coaching and curtains, and I didn't even hang one up for money services. But and I had markers, and I was writing everything down. I was writing down what the investment was. What do you get for the investment? And the investments ranged from $50,000 to $500,000 with all of those. And so money played a big, obviously, if you're going to invest this much, how much are you going to get? So we went through that. When we narrowed it down to 3, and actually had interviews with those representatives of each of those franchises, and talk through, let's go through the FDD. What do you guys require from your franchisees? What do you offer for the investment? And we found that the franchise, we chose PMI for the investment, which at the time was only $50,000. And I say only because now they've gone up, obviously. But it was all of the software. We talked about how they're able to obtain these partnerships because they offer the scalability for that particular vendor. Mm-hmm. And I immediately thought, we don't have to buy this stuff outright. We could get all of this for this investment and hit the ground running. Because that was the biggest thing for me, being on the finance side, was how are we going to keep track of these numbers? And the software systems that they have for the accounting on the HOA side, as well as the residential side, was pretty darn good. And that's what really kind of triggered. It was what were we getting for the investment, and what types of resources we're going to get that helps us be successful. And that was how we chose this particular franchise.
It's really interesting. So, in my day job, I work as an SBA 7A lender. So we do a ton of work with franchises, mostly people who are either looking to open their first, or maybe go from 1 to 3 stores, something like that. So when we're taking a look at deals, it's really interesting because we have, the FDD, the franchise disclosure document that has a lot of the information. So we always look for that. We look for relevant projections from similar stores. But then we also get a ton of third-party data. So, there's a something called Fran Data that will pull a fund score, and they maintain basically like a credit score for each of these franchises. And we are able to set a minimum threshold on that to say, okay, just in general, we're not going to be interested in, say, a Cold Stone Creamery right now because it has a Fran Data below a certain number that we're not able to do. But here's a prop quiz for you. Any guesses for what the highest ranked franchise is right now?
The Hampton Inn.
Hampton Inn. Okay, I like it.
I'm going to go Meinekes.
I'm going to say McDonald's.
McDonald's. The answer is Marco's Pizza.
Really?
The frozen pizza.
No, it's a newer franchise that's coming up across, and they've got apparently incredibly good pizza. All their stores seem to be succeeding. All the third-party information that Fran Data tracks is positive. So this smaller pizza chain right now has the highest score that we've ever seen.
Wow.
So, it's interesting. We are much more willing to give funds to a startup franchise for the exact reasons you have articulated around having structure, process, back office training. Because in SBA, the biggest stress on the portfolio, the highest default is non-franchise startups, specifically hospitality non-franchise startups.
Yeah.
So, it's just it's such a good conversation just to be able to talk through, how different people can look at the same information on a franchise when trying to make either an investment and a lot of time, sweat, and tears into it versus, taking a debt risk and trying to evaluate, okay, not just for this individual deal, but from a portfolio level, are we going to be able to sustain if we lend to this type of business?
Yeah. Right. One other thing that we did do as well in our vetting process is the franchise made available other franchisees that had been in the business for some time and allowed us to interview them, ask questions. And it's fun. Things go full circle because now Kat and I are sought after to go talk to potentially new franchisees here. So we just had one last week with a couple out of Maryland. So that's the other nice thing is we've connected with franchisees across the nation that have become very good friends of ours, and we trade best practices. We're a part of a group that is the same age as we are, so we're moving through our journeys similarly. We're a little farther ahead than some of them, but for the most part, we've committed to stay connected just so that we can continue to learn from each other. So it's been great.
That's really nice that there's kind of a built-in mentorship network there. Especially, again, as an entrepreneur, I'm very grateful that I have a business partner and other people, even that aren't CPAs, that I can talk to and commiserate with a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
But it can be very lonely, or not can be. It is incredibly lonely being an entrepreneur, especially building something from scratch or even having just a small start. So having that ability to just talk with other franchisees that have been around the block a little bit longer, and then also start to mentor the ones coming up, as you said, make it come full circle. I'm really happy to hear that. First, you guys are doing that now on the back end, but you had that opportunity on the front end. And again, for anyone listening, those are the types of things that if you're considering a franchise, firstly, you should make sure that they have something like that in place. Most of them do, but that's also, again, the benefit of potentially franchising as opposed to just doing it yourself. Right. And also, I know you guys did start from scratch pretty much, obviously with a franchise, but you had your first acquisition in 2024. Can you talk to us a little bit about that particular deal, how it came across your desk, how you guys executed it, and all that kind of stuff?
How did you know it was time? You were ready to take on a bigger book of business.
Well, I can jump in on that one. Because up until that point, I was running the business by myself. Anna had several HOAs that she managed, but she primarily did it at night and on weekends. When this opportunity came out the flip charts. She loves flip charts. But it really came down to what's going to place us in a position to bring her to the company full time. And I'll let her go into the rest of it. But for me, that was huge, because having that daily support with her, working side by side, was important.
Yeah. You know, it was interesting, because timing is everything, right? You asked, how did you know you were ready? It had nothing to do with where we were in the business. How I knew I was ready, it's specifically from my experience, my career in commercial banking, I already felt was coming to an end in my head. Because at some point you lose the fire in your belly. When you lose the fire in your belly with what you're doing, it's time for a change. And I was already feeling that with the commercial banking. I mean, 40 years in commercial banking is a long time. Well, it was started off in retail and ended up majority of that time was commercial. But it was, and banking today is very different than when it was in, just 10 years ago. So it's so a lot of that changed and it was time for me to make a change. I just didn't know what it was. So along came this opportunity, and this franchise that we belong to, there's probably 5 franchises in the Austin, Central Texas area. And we're all good friends. We all know each other. There's no competition or anything like that, because in reality, there are thousands of rental properties. There are thousands of HOAs, and Cat only needs 300 and I only need 50. Okay. So we really share a lot. But one of those franchisees, dear friends of ours, married couple, they found that it was time for them to move back to California. And he was very tech savvy, came from a technology background, and had another idea for a new business. So they just wanted to phase out and move back to be closer to family and launch this new venture that they had for themselves. So they approached us saying, hey, we're, over the years, we've learned that we were in close alignment with our value system, how we do business, our culture was similar. And so they approached us and said, hey, we've got 15 HOAs. Would you consider buying us out? So the conversation started when I was still in my banking role. And after we started looking at the financials, it was a profitable, small company, but profitable, and actually just very well run. Those two did a great job with servicing their clients, who incidentally we still have today. And it's going to be a year and a couple of weeks. So we feel fortunate that we've been able to retain those clients. But we were only ready, Joe, because I was ready to let go of that career and start a new one. And that's made Kat very happy. She needed, just, if, I'm not directly involved in her business, but just to have that daily moral support, I think, just right upstairs, because I work upstairs, she works downstairs in our office, I think was a huge boost to us anyway. And to really position ourselves for that growth, because we had been doubling in growth since we started. And this particular acquisition, we finally will realize the full impact of that additional income this year, because that only closed in September of last year. So that's super exciting. And we're embarking on another one. Aaron, we'll talk to you about it later.
And maybe Joe.
And maybe Joe. And legacy business plans. Yeah.
There you go. Well, you've also had a chance to build this in one of the most unique real estate markets in one of its most unique times. I mean, Austin is routinely brought up as one of the only places where rents are falling. And, unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to work with you through Finest Address, because every time Aaron and I try to pencil out a deal, the old Excel spreadsheet says, wait a second, you're going to be paying more in mortgage than you're going to collect in rents. Are you stupid? So to me, the way I read the market is there's legacy people who are just getting rents they've never gotten before and have nice low interest rates. And then you've got a lot of newer people on the market that are either building a ton and hoping rents start going up again, or like how does that playing out from your point of view, sort of seeing it field level or interacting with a ton of small operators?
What I've noticed is, I'm sure y'all know that during 2020 to about late 2022, to buy a house in Austin, I was watching people offer $100,000 over asking to be at the top of the list.
You're looking at one of them, by the way.
Yes.
I was one of those people, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
these schmucks from New York.
Yeah. So what we're seeing now is, as people have been here for a while and maybe they're getting transferred to another state or what have you, they can't get in rent what their mortgage is. I had a long conversation with the gentleman this weekend. He said, if you can get it rented out, rent it out. I know I'm going to be at least $1,500 a month underwater. He said, but do the best you can. Well, he's going to be underwater for a long time, because rents in that particular area of town have really come down. Where he was getting $2,400 2 years ago, we're going to be lucky if he can get $1,750.
Wow. That's
so the reality to these owners that bought up here where they were offering, $100,000 over asking, and now they can't sell it for that. They can't get close to it. So they're thinking, okay, we'll hold on to it, rent it out for what we can, try to watch and see if the market's going to come back up, and hopefully the interest rates come down. So it's educating these people that we can't get that kind of money. It's, our inventory for rentals in Austin is about twice the amount it was 2 years ago.
Wow.
So
it's nice.
It's crazy. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's nice at least that you set the realistic expectation with your clients. That's something really hard to do, because you're breaking bad news to them and saying, listen, the reality is, you were renting it out for that. If you actually want to rent it out, it'll be a $700 haircut, a 30%, 40% haircut. But then you actually at least get it rented out, as opposed to vacancy, which can be a major killer in real estate as well. And that's frankly just building the relationship with your clients, building the trust that, hey, listen, real estate is not just local, but hyper local, because thank God, at least from my experience, I'm not seeing rents nosedive from the one rental property I have in Austin. But again, that's where your role is so invaluable, because you can really say, listen, this is the reality in which we live. And the only way out is through, and you help your clients get through that.
It's true. And Kat does a great job, in her law enforcement career. She was a negotiator, so she can have those conversations really well. But here's, from a business perspective, and Joe, I don't want to scare you, so I have to say this, because you're going to see our P&L one day. Our decision to enter into the association management largely had to do because of the cyclicality that can happen in residential leasing with whatever the market it's market volatility that impacts that income.
Yeah.
In association management, is contractual. It is a steady eddy, where it doesn't matter where the market is.
Yeah.
Your HOA dues are the same every month. So, and
they never go down.
I'm sure
they never go. Yeah, they never go down.
They never go down, right? And so, our whole decision to add that line of revenue was to to basically balance that, what we're feeling right now in residential. So you'll see residential do this. I mean, it started up here and then all of a sudden it just starts dipping and then it's plateauing.
Yeah. It's
but HOA stays.
Yeah, no, it's more evergreen, if you will. It's a little more stability for your revenue stream, for your profitability. Our guest last week, totally different business, consumer packaged goods, but he kind of talked about his different revenue streams: retail, B2C, B2B. And again, having a diversified stream of income can really help you from a stability perspective, because HOAs right now are that source of stability. Who knows, 10 years from now, HOAs might be unstable and residential family homes might be the more stable, or commercial real estate multifamily could be more stable. And that's the beauty of, I think, being an entrepreneur, is what you're talking about in a diversification of revenue pipeline. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're selling a product, a service, real estate management, it all kind of blends into, hey, how do you make sure you build something and you sustain it? And that's really, a good point to take home from what you just said. And also, I apologize, we are kind of coming up to the end of the show now. I feel like I could talk to you guys for another 3 hours. Firstly, you guys are a lot of fun to talk to, so thank you for sharing your time with us. But for the last segment of the show, we like to just kind of give this, use this as an opportunity for our guests, you guys, to plug yourselves, say what your ask is for any listeners of our show. So our massive audience of over 100 people now, which is pretty awesome. And who knows? By the way, a year from now, it could be 10,000. How cool would that be? We go back to our first few episodes.
1 trillion or bust.
There you go.
That's a great goal.
GDP of a small country. But anyway, Kat, Anna, what would you guys like to kind of share with our audience for your ask?
For me, for the association side, looking if you're a board member in an association and you've got questions, or maybe you're not quite happy with current management, give us a call. We've got a great team that we have on our association side of the business, and we're all about service. We're all about response times, and communication is really where we are striving to be excellent. So give us a call. We'd love to chat with you about your association management needs. Kat, what are you looking for?
On the residential side, I would love to meet more investors, both multifamily and single family residential. It would be wonderful to have those conversations. We have some great programs to do rent range reports. And I try to tell people every time I talk to them, when you hire a property manager, it's like a marriage. We've got to click. You need to interview several before you choose the property manager that is going to manage your property, because your property is a huge investment and you have to trust us and we need to know you. So, I'd love to get introduced to more investors.
And what's the best way for anyone who'd like to connect with you to reach out? What's the best either website or email or even phone number, if you'd like, that they could reach out?
Well, we are Anna at PMIAustinExperts.com or Katrina at PMIAustinExperts.com. And Kat's better on her cell phone than I am. Yeah. So
they're always welcome to call me, and I'll give you my cell phone, because that's one of the things is all of my tenants and all of my owners have my cell phone, because I want them to be able to reach me when they need to. But my number is 512-751-2323.
And just, just to testify real quick too, as a very happy client of Kat and Anna's here, they execute the management of properties very well. They answer their phones. Unfortunately, again, in the world of professional services and relationship management, you don't always get that. And whenever I have a question, I need to talk with Kat, I call her and I always get an answer. So as they said, timeliness is so important for residential and commercial real estate, and they are very timely and just awesome people to work with. One other thing too, real quick, Kat. I mean, Kat, for those listening to, she's a true badass. She had her profession law enforcement, but she was ex-SWAT. So if you want and she's also one of the nicest people I've ever met. But knowing that she could also jack me up in a moment's notice is also it's very comforting to know that is the person who's helping me take care of my tenants and my properties. Because Kat, again, I love working with you both as a client, but also as someone that helps me take care of my properties. It's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us. This is a great conversation. I think, hopefully everyone, our 100 or so listeners, enjoy this conversation, and you'll have to let us know if anyone reaches out. But
sure will.
Yeah, absolutely.
For this week, appreciate everyone joining us for another conversation, and we'll see you next week for episode 7 of Numbers and Nonsense.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and in the comments, guess how many of our guests could beat up Aaron. And on that note,
cue the exit.